First, I want to thank Alex and Raj and all the colleagues at Cambridge for having organized this symposium on compulsion and control in ancient Egypt, a very rich topic. But I better get started right away, otherwise I'll go terribly over time. When Alex asked me to participate in a symposium on compulsion and control in ancient Egypt, I hesitated. I know little of compulsion and less of control, but then I thought, well, I am desperately trying to finish the next volume of the Book of Thoth. I've worked on it since 1989, for God's sake. Something I know not what compels me. At this point, it's not tenure or even money. I don't get much money for this. The subject of compulsion and control falls most obviously under the rubric of law, sociology, or related disciplines. Every demotic student soon learns the standard legal phrase en heter uti min, under compulsion and without delay, the conventional translation. And here I've put up a typical example from a British Museum legal text. Without any force being applied, I have written this. Whatever life may have actually been like in Greco-Roman Egypt, the demotic scribes were certainly preoccupied with notions of compulsion and control. Is not every bill of sale, contract, lease, cult association, regulation, text, and code of law an instrument of control? I'll just put up one example from a famous, among demodicists, cult association text in Berlin. Paremetinawe into UFR Hush, Pamershen, UFR D Hedge 5. The man of the house will insult, that's what Hush means, the Lesonis, the Mershen, he will give 5 Deben. Still, as I thought about it, thought a bit more, I remembered that in demotic literature, the theme of compulsion figures prominently. I love this hand copy of Setner 1 done by Edgerton in the 20s and 30s. Again, for Setner 1, I'll put in a plug for Steve's new edition. In that Setner 1, Prince Na-Nefer-Kaptah, after all, had no, I quote here, and this is from Lifetime actually, had no occupation upon earth except for walking about the necropolis of Memphis, reading the writings. Oh my God, I see a typo. The writings which are in the chapels of the pharaohs and the stele of the scribes of the house of life, and the writings which are on them. He later became obsessed, truly obsessed with finding the Book of Thoth. And here's one of the important moments in the text where the elderly priest, whoever that may be, confronts Na-Nefer-Kaptah and tells him about the Book of Thoth. Of course, Alex has prepared for us a minefield. I think Alex is a nice guy. I've met him. He seems very nice, but he's a little tricky here. As a simple demoticist, I must tread lightly around such deep psychological concepts. Na-Nefer-Kaptah's compulsion comes, for example, not from outside, but from within. His father, the pharaoh, is not compelling him to become obsessed with texts. He's not forcing him to go to graduate school to become a doctor or a lawyer. Still, Na-Nefer-Kaptah can no more control his actions than I, or the disciple in the Book of Thoth, to be discussed later. The force acts upon me in such a way that I, whoever that is, feel I have little control over this compulsion. It might as well be an external force. So with your indulgence today, I'll discuss this particular species of compulsion in the main. The Egyptians themselves clearly pondered the origin of these powerful forces driving our actions. In the dramatic tale of the armor of Inaros, Osiris commands two slaughtering demons, the Hatu, and he calls them, Osiris called Strife Lover, I think it's Mer'ach, and Horus is the Avenger, Jeba. The two demons, Hatu, and he said to them, hurry to earth, go to Heliopolis, let strife come about in the heart of Pami, the cat, the younger. Many Egyptian literary texts are, of course, meditations on the Egyptian sense of order, Ma'at, if you will. We all know that. These stories often portray individuals who disturb that order, who transgress Tehi against established norms. Conversely, the dramatic tension of stories such as Setna 1 arises in part from one character's attempt to control the behavior of another. Neferkapta's much more intelligent wife, Ahwert, cannot control his obsession with the Book of Thoth. As she says, and I said put it up there, I did everything, literally a very important key term, awi teret, the extent, the width of the hand, yeri awi tereti. I could with Neferkaptah, so as to not let him go to reach Pech, Kaptos, where the Book of Thoth is supposed to be. He did not listen to me, Ben Puav Sejim and E. Similarly, even Pharaoh himself in this story cannot control his son's Setna's foolish behavior, which led to his stealing the Book of Thoth. This was later on, of course, 536. Pharaoh said to Setna, to Neferkaptah, or Setna, I did everything I could with you earlier, but you did not listen to me until this very moment. Now, the Book of Thoth has consumed my own life, and here you can see that though I seem to be a harmless drudge, I have a very powerful internal fantasy life, which I won't go into here. This theological composition, that is the Book of Thoth, in the form of a dialogue, is closely associated with the house of life, the temple scriptorium, the Per Ankh. I've been working on this text since 1989. This is my little section. These are my digital hand copies, collated. This is the great Berlin the Book of Thoth, the first one we found. And here, I'm not going to talk about these things that go on forever. Here's the Louvre image of the Louvre manuscript of the Book of Thoth. Big text, broken. And in the Book of Thoth, the author, whoever wrote it, covers topics from the act of writing to sacred geography. Lengthy encyclopedic scholarly works were popular in Greco-Roman period Egypt. Joachim Kroak's Book of the Temple is another example. Here I put up a famous image drawn by Christina di Cerebel, for me. This is the illustration of the famous British Museum. The Peace Salt 825 gives you a certain sense of the, what shall I say, of the theological complexity of Book of Thoth, of the House of Life, of the Per Ankh. While the precise identities of the main characters of the Book of Thoth are still obscure, it's clearly a dialogue between a master and a disciple set within the House of Life, the Per Ankh. The composition deals explicitly with initiation, Aik. The House of Life is often mentioned, as we all know, but little known. The Book of Thoth is thus a valuable source for the structure and interpersonal dynamics of the institution. How then do the themes of control and compulsion appear within such a scholastic work? The ancient name of the Book of Thoth was probably, nothing is certain in the book dealing with the Book of Thoth, Patepreten Ak, that has the lotus determinative, Ak does. Ak Erta Ait, the chamber, At Keki, the chamber of darkness. The regulations for the ceremonial entry, that's the Ak, into the chamber of darkness, which is the typical term for the house of life, the Per Ankh, in the Book of Thoth. Tepred, which in Wörterbuch they give you the meanings of Vorschrift, Weisung, or Ordnung. Can also be rendered then instructions or ceremony. The use of this term itself implies control with regard to the following dialogue, to the text which follows. There is no room for improvisation. The word tepred or tepti, curiously, tepred comes out as tepti in Demotic, occurs several times in the Book of Thoth. One which comes to my mind is a statement, you udit tepti, one will give regulations or ceremonies or rituals to the houses of the god. That's a statement that comes up a little later in the early part of the Book of Thoth. And later, as I put up here, we get the mention of the cult ritual, Chez, of the Chamber of Darkness. He is judged, that's another name, I won't go into it, of the master character in the Thoth. It will be necessary to perform and to recite, to hear and to recite the cult ritual, the chesed of the Chamber of Darkness, a word attested in Ptolemaic, the Ptolemaic period. As I say, ches is a general term for a ritual written in a papyrus roll. I'm just quoting there from Penny Wilson's lexicon. These designations place the composition squarely within the temple sphere. It may have been recited possibly as a drama on the occasion of a disciple's admission, ak aik, to the select group of priestly scribes within the house of life. Still, my impression is that while the Book of Thoth may have had a specific function as a ritual, its main purpose was to canonize knowledge about the scribal art at the highest level. This knowledge is transmitted in the form of the master's questions and the disciples' answers proving him worthy of entering into the house of life. Of course, a text may serve several functions at once. In the Book of Thoth, the master is called the Chezrek in the main. He who praises Chez, knowledge, Rech, while the disciple is the Merech, he who loves knowledge or wishes to learn. That these, and I put up here, just few examples how these things look in the Demotic. Interestingly, sometimes they get no determinative, sometimes they get divine determinatives, both of them. Sometimes the Chezrech gets a divine determinative, the Merech gets the man determinative, sometimes the Merech gets the divine determinative. It's nothing is simple. That the two main characters should be so named is not chance. The concepts of love and praise are closely intertwined in Egypt. One Book of the Dead insertion, spell 9, Book of the Dead, spell 9, it struck me, it well expresses this relationship. I am Thoth when he ascends, with none opposing or hindering him. He enters praised, and he comes forth beloved or loved. And really, the scribal brush itself is called Aker Merit, excellent of love in the Book of Thoth. The first line of the Book of Thoth sets, to be sure, a rather sober tone. Namedu, I don't think anyone disputes that restoration The words which instruct a youth to take counsel with the son of Wenyama, na medo endi seva net raza Wenyama. This is thus also a manual of instruction. The disciple is a nechen, a youth or child. He is to learn how to take counsel or advice from a son with, or advice from a son of Wenyama, that is a son of or representative of Imhotep. We follow Joachim Bach's suggestion that Wenyama is Imhotep, not Thoth. Family imagery and terms, here Za, right? Father, mother, son, and nurse pervade the Book of Thoth. Such vocabulary reinforces the dynamics of the interaction. Clearly, the disciple is the son, the master, the father, although I will nuance that a bit later. From an Egyptian perspective, these designations then prescribe how both should behave, how we should believe or expect that they would behave. Even teaching itself can assume a maternal form. I didn't put it up there, but in one line we have, you're teaching, your meteret, I believe, not sebayit, will act as a nursemaid to me. Unsurprisingly, given this intro, the first line, the Book of Thoth voices sentiments of traditional Egyptian wisdom. The master instructs the disciple, be sweet of tongue, benerlis. Set your heart upon God, chatek, necher, panecher. Adhere to the law, hen again, hen, to be close to. I don't know about make revenge, I think it's on wesheb, or reply, maybe it's more likely to be ready with a reply if you're asked about something. And I love this one, shemi and mat, go in mat. While the master does not overtly threaten the disciple if he does not listen, he does imply that entering the chamber of darkness without being properly instructed would be a very bad thing. And that's what you've got here. Come, let me instruct you. That's meta. Before you are hard pressed, that's hesh. Before you have entered, there's such a before clause form, before you have entered into the divine shrine. Or do not proceed to the place of while your heart is empty, shu. Do not go among prophets while you are a fool. I like that one. The word is wecha, ucha. Such warnings are certainly intended to drive the disciple to ever greater zeal. Master and disciple operate in a hierarchical and tightly controlled universe. Within the house of life, we hear very specific titles to which the disciple aspires, or which denote high stations worthy of respect in that institution. Just put up a few of them. Very prominent is the craftsman, hem. But the prophet or noble, selah, think of ser. You can talk about the proper translation of that word. Rekikiu, the mer seba, the overseer of instruction. The scribe, of course, the sesh, the tepium unutev, the first one in his hour, apprentice. That's an important concept. Chela or cheriret, or simply a chemu, or of course the other word for an assistant or apprentice is a cheriah. But what drives or compels the disciple towards his goal? I believe that, as his name implies, the disciple is mainly compelled by mer, love. He both loves knowledge and wishes to possess it. We wish to possess what we love. Mer is the most prominent word, but the disciple often uses similar terms such as ucha, wecha, the desire or want, or even yib, wish. And I'm sure this is also from the very beginning, that very beginning of the Book of Thoth, the Berlin text, the witness. don't think that the restoration of Tayyib is very much off. It could be a similar word, of course. But what we have here, the sentiment, I think, is pretty clear. The wish of my heart is that which brought me, this is a statement disciple, may I be one with the youths. The very idea of a book of knowledge or a place of knowledge on the level of the Book of Thoth or the House of Life profoundly moves those Egyptians of a scholarly frame of mind. When Nefer-Kaptach hears about the Book of Thoth, I've quoted it there, he, that is Nefer-Kaptach, did not know where in the world he was. When that priest, I showed you the graphic novel illustration. This is the same. It's no accident that this is the same phrase used in the love at first sight scenes in demonic stories. They're pretty popular. Here's one from the Egyptians and Amazons. Likewise, one of the hero of that composition narrative, Prince Petekhansu, when Prince Petekhansu, for his part, saw her, the Queen of the Amazons, he did not know where in the world he was. To my mind, the disciple's feelings transcend mere duty, fondness, or devotion in that Book of Thoth. His passionate and even, to my mind, rather sexualized statements about knowledge, possession of knowledge, sometimes reach the level of a compulsion, obsession. The one who loves knowledge, the disciple, that will command for me the words which give birth to prophets with mesela, that I may cause that they become pregnant, yulul, in my flesh, in my yufu. And then later on, the nurse who is as a nurse for the learned one, may I enter into her doorposts. I don't have to tell you in this audience the nuances, the meanings of doorposts in Egyptian poetry and so on. Unlike the popular dramatic stories celebrating priestly magicians such as Setna I or the London and Leiden magical handbook, the disciple in the Book of Thoth does not dwell on the powers which his control over the sacred writings give to him. The magical feats in Setna I and II are popular echoes of the more sober ritual and scholarly activity in which the disciple hopes to partake in the House of Life. Still in the first column of the Book of Thoth, the disciple does actually explicitly mention the chemet ra, literally the craft of the mouth, chemet ra, the standard term for a magical spell. Put up the references here, spruch or zauberspruch. I also emphasize that the verb here to seek out is hech, an ancient word, huh? To seek out knowledge is never easy to find, but must be sought. Naturally, again, the quest of Nefer-Kaptach in Setna I comes to mind. There are, to be sure, references to magical deeds in the language of birds and beasts in the Book of Thoth, but few details. It would perhaps have been presumptuous for the aspiring disciple to be so explicit at this point in his career. While Rech gives power, knowledge, Rech, to do wonderful things, in good Egyptian fashion, the disciple focuses rather on the praise and status which accompany the acquisition of knowledge. People are bowed down to the craftsman. Again, that's an upper level scholar in the House of Life. Myriads, Cheku, bow before him. And later on, a little broken, his children, his sons of Wenyema, huh? Za Wenyema, the first lines, are the ones whom he thought will exalt Teniu. The desire to reach this status further drives the disciple, Powerful social needs then also play a role. The aspirant deeply wishes to belong to a group, specifically to join the select society of scribes and disciples. I've put up a few examples here. After I become a son, let them cause that my name be established. Men, let me enter, that's the point here. Let me enter among the nobles, the prophets, magistrates, the seru. Let them place me upon the path of the divine bassols, the path, the wise ones who are in the primeval time. And in 413, particularly the last line, and I will become one with the assistants. He aspires to be a noble, a craftsman, a prophet, or a servant, or apprentice, the majesty of Thoth. This goal would have meant much to a young scribe beginning his career. Mary Ray, the hero of the story of Papyrus Vendier, shown here, remember, published by Posener, was bitterly unhappy at being excluded from the court by envious learned scribes. The wisdom text of Amenacht, New Kingdom text, of course, nicely captures, I love this aspiration to enjoy ready access to the society, as it were. You should become You should become a scribe and circulate. Pecher. There's no question that word is carefully chosen in Amenacht. Pecher means also to enchant. In the later periods in Demotic, in the house of life, it means cheperapu. It is to become like a box of books. Whoever wrote the Thoth book, the Book of Thoth, would have appreciated that line. The disciple willingly subjects himself to a strenuous path to reach his goal. It is a hard road which few others can or will take. I put up here just a few. There's a whole section devoted to this topic. My abomination, my Betty is wine. Joachim improved the readings of that line. I reject the perfume of myrrh. My clothes are worn. I mean, eagerness, shegig. Actually, an important word here. There are really other lines here which describe the various restrictions to which the disciple willingly commits himself, manual tasks and the menial tasks, which he gladly undertakes within the house of life. Couldn't show everything here. So it's a highly controlled and regulated society to which the disciple is seeking admittance. Just a little bit like the description of this conference. It's not easy to get into this Cambridge symposium, though I imagine we're drinking wine, and that's my abomination. One is reminded of Charamon's description of the ascetic life of Egyptian priests, as quoted in Porphyry's De Abstinentia, even if the historical reality of that passage has been doubted. The Book of Thoth employs terminology both literally and figuratively. This is, as I've said, a ceremony of entering, aik. So the disciple progresses upon a path, mit or meten or wa. The path of God, what nature, and the path of life are, of course, important concepts in late period Egypt and before. The way of the disciple to his goal is thus closely delineated and controlled. He does once proclaim his hope to participate as a lector priest in the highly choreographed festival processions, shouldering the sacred papyrus roll. Look at these selected examples mentioning the path of going to the house of life, the path of going and coming. They once showed me the path with my own. They often vary the different words. They balance them out, the different words for ways and path. I love the path of the dog. I assume that's a reference to the scribal art. Go upon the way, the path. I suspect that in the mind of priests, the path of life, of proper conduct, was itself understood to be under the authority of Thoth. That's the name of my little spiel today, huh? Every path is in the hand, the ingerit, the control of Thoth, the Lord of knowledge. Not bad, huh? Nebre. Given the path imagery, it is no surprise that a series of gates and gatekeepers controls access to the house of life. So we here have a doorkeeper, and then we have she of the chapel. I'm not sure, it could be Seshat, who opens and closes the house of life with a key of iron. I mentioned before that the author freely uses the vocabulary of family. Still, he does attempt to nuance the nature of the instruction given to the disciple. The author distinguishes, in some cases, between a father and the overseer of learning. I put up a few of these lines. Is a father the one who is a guide, a chaimit for them, or is a learned one the one who instructs? And 286, a very good one. Is a father the one, and eat, the one who prepares? That's a little difficult, the translation, it's broken. His son, or is it compulsion? This is important. The chetel, that's just the cheter, of the stick, of the shebet. As I said, the translation is uncertain here. I suspect the author wishes to dispel the notion that the advanced disciple requires the sort of physical persuasion to study found in the notorious passages, the oft-quoted passages of the late Egyptian miscellanies. Spend no day of idleness or you shall be beaten. Nevertheless, I must admit that in the Book of Thoth, the disciple can describe his rigorous course of study in brutal and one hopes figurative terms. The prophets, the Seru, have beaten me. The word uses, I believe, mechi. They have consumed Wenham, my heart, and the fat of my flesh. Images in the phraseology of mastery and control are prominent in the Book of Thoth. The disciple aspires, first of all, to control over his own body. One of the most significant lines here in the Book of Thoth. He works until he finds the mastery, the sak over ear, eye, heart, tongue, hands, gepet of the foot. And then here I've translated gem, pasek, gem. I find mastery. I identify sek with old sock, to gather together, to collect, sitting there to collect his limbs and all that. There's Coptic sak, beherrschung, and the Spiegelberg Wessendorf lexicon. He desires to gain control over the mysteries of the Egyptian script. I will have power. Yui sechem sesher ek. I will have power over your papyrus roll. There's some, I don't know if it's deliberate or not. The sesher has the evil determinative, and it can be also read as a demon. I suggest that the same desire for control over the sacred writings as found in the Book of Thoth is expressed more literally and popularly in the story of Setna 1. As you will recall, both of the heroes or anti-heroes, Non-Neferkaptach and Setna, actually robbed the Book of Thoth, take violent physical possession of the object. Rather, as in the famous cannibal hymn of the cannibal spell of the pyramid texts, the disciple acquires control over the hieroglyphs through consumption. I ate up, this is from the Totbuch, I ate up their birds, their ipedu. I swallowed their falcons, their baku. My heart has been united, shineb, with their natures. And we should keep in mind that in the late period, the hieroglyphic signs or the sounds for which they stand were called ipedu, birds. in the text. Elsewhere, the figure of the herdsman fittingly expresses notions of control in the Book of Thoth, benevolent control, you might say. The children of the teaching of the good herdsman. Ray is the herdsman. Every herdsman makes sustenance for their charge, really the hieroglyphs. The herdsman who herd those who are not sated, those who are not drunk, and those who are at rest. The farmers as a herdsman. Of course, Thoth is the divine orderer. He is the one who gives writing, laws, and mathematics. The author of the Book of Thoth engages deeply with this theme. I put up a line here. Let me hurry or look to, it's techie, is some playing with us there, the words. The ibis who is at the top of his brush, the ibis, the techen. He who has ordered the earth with his measuring scale plates or perhaps palette. The author, the word there, the author then plays, he begins to play with his guess sound. The order here is guess, to order the earth. Look it up in Wörterbuch. And as I say, in this the following lines, he goes on a riff with guess, ending up with a gesset, of course, the scribal palette. And this is all quite reasonable because the written records, they bring order and control into the world. That's what their function is. The vocabulary itself used for apprentice and assistant, very important concepts in Topbuch, express physically that the subordinate disciple is under the protection or control of a higher entity. The Cheri Red, the Cheri Am. And I like the last one. Let me hurry or look to the love of Necher, another version, another reading, the Lord of Hednu. Of course, the Hednu is the brush. It's an epithet of Thoth. Let me hurry to the hieroglyphic signs of the foremost one under the wings. I assume here the wings of Thoth, to be under someone's wing. Knowledge itself exercises a sort of enchantment of the aspiring disciple. I mentioned above that knowledge and sex are closely intertwined in Setna 1, and probably in life in general. The Book of Thoth expresses in more sophisticated ways than in Setna 1 the powerful, almost sexual attraction of scribal knowledge. And the goddess, in this case, Seshat, Thoth's companion, she, the personification of writing, it was sometimes called Talmeret Pecheres, she who loves enchantment. She ensnares the disciple. And I have this line, the disciple says, the nets of Shentait Shai have caught me, the net of Mechen, the old Mechen snake. The disciple then, as we see, it was truly been caught in a net, a web of words. But the disciple is enchanted, becomes enchanted. His heart is turned to the study of the sacred writings. And I put up a few lines giving this idea. As for the one whose heart shy here, Sesha, persuades, Leki, literally turns to turn the heart. Among them in the hieroglyphic signs of Isten, an epithet of Thoth enchant. And then there's a rhetorical question, is it in his power? And that's the same term that Achweret used, the Ichit, the Awiteret, the extent of the hand. Is it in his power, ability to turn himself away from them? Secha, is not his heart that which is upon them? And then I might also mention that, oh my goodness, that, sorry. I hope I have to pick it up. A little bit of a glitch, huh? And then later on, we get we have the phrase, the actual phrase, which pecher chat, which means to enchant the heart, which Robert Ridner has discussed in his fine book on magical practice. It occurs also in the Thoth book, in the Book of Thoth. Even sex cannot compare with the scribal mysteries. The mystery, the seshtit of the bedroom, the rechenet, does not ensnare like she who loves enchantment, seshat. As I said at the beginning, the disciple, the notions of compulsion and control are surely most visible in Demotic documents. However, I hope I have shown in this brief talk that these fundamental impulses and modes of action are also apparent in the most sophisticated and elaborate scholarly works of the ancient Egyptians. And I would just like to conclude by expressing my gratitude to Alex for inviting me to this conference and compelling me, cheter, me, to think about the Book of Thoth from this perspective. Thank you.